One of the things that truly makes Bluey's show so great is the richness of details in the characters and the series' stories. But have you really noticed all the background stories happening in Bluey while the episodes are rolling?
I'm curious.
One of these stories is actually quite old, but it was only confirmed during the second to last episode of the third season, The Sign. In it, we see at two different moments Stripe and his partner Trixie arguing. And if we rewind a bit, we'll notice that this isn't actually something new, but it had been happening long before the show even started. When we watch the episode Facey Talk, Muffin ends up walking into the bathroom while her mom is using the throne, and shortly after, Stripe finally manages to catch the little pup, which was his main goal. But right after that, we see Muffin lying on the bathroom floor and calmly scrolling through her phone, while in the background, we can hear her parents arguing quite harshly.
I'm handling it!
It doesn't look like you're handling it.
Guys?
And we notice the gray pup still playing normally, showing that the couple's arguments are very common. This is further confirmed when we see Socks playing with the wedding cake figurines and simulating as if they were arguing, which demonstrates that despite being small, she definitely sees that at home very often. So, just as in Facey Talk, we see the couple embracing each other in the end. In The Sign, we see them happily dancing together after the arguments. The question is, what will be the outcome of their relationship? I sincerely hope they go for couples therapy or counseling and that everything turns out fine for the family. This is just one of the new background stories that most people never noticed in Bluey. Taking advantage of talking about Bluey's cousin's family, another cool background story we noticed throughout the series is Socks' development. As we all know, so far, Socks is the only canine character who exhibits truly typical dog behavior. For example, we see the little pup walking on all fours and sometimes biting some people, especially Bandit. Which is not something common in the Bluey universe, since we know that dogs there are like us humans in our world. And throughout the series, we can observe an interesting background story of how Socks gradually left her wild behavior behind and became more civilized. After the short called Honk, we start seeing the little pup more often with a new behavior and speaking normally, like all the other characters. In Pizza Girls, we see that she doesn't participate much, but at the same time, she already resembles all the other girls, which is completely confirmed in The Sign, where she manages to behave and learn so well that she becomes one of the Flower Girls, showing the increasingly greater evolution of the youngest cousin of the girls, at least for now, since soon they will have new cousins. And speaking of Bluey's youngest cousin, comment down below, #Socks, if you also like this character a lot. Talking about new cousins leads us to another background story. We meet Chili's sister, Brandy, officially in the episode Onesies, but long before that, we already knew that Bluey's mom had a sister, mainly because of the various photos scattered around the house where we see the whole Healer family gathered when she was just a little pup. This leads us to the whole background story involving the girl's aunt and her past life. We can identify that despite being older, Brandy and Chili were very close, just like Bluey and Bingo, so much so that the two sisters had their own dance. At the same time, we also noticed that the two sisters had very different habits, with Chili being more adventurous and sporty. The proof of this is the name we see on the root of one of the trees near the swamp at Granddad's house, Chili's name, but not Brandy's, indicating that Mama Healer enjoyed more adventure while her sister probably preferred playing in safer places. More or less the same difference we see between Bingo and Bluey in the episode The Creek, where the blue pup preferred to stay in the playground.
The ground here is more uneven than in the playground.
Another thing we know about Brandy's story is that the same negative experience Chili suffered, she also went through when they both lost their mother in a way that hasn't been clarified yet, but seems to have been a terminal illness like cancer. And it seems that this deeply affected the girl's aunt, that it may have contributed to her difficulties in conceiving, perhaps even because of the same health issue, but managing to overcome it. When we then see Brandy pregnant and almost about to have a baby at Radley and Frisky's wedding, we are very happy, since all the fans of the show were rooting for this moment to finally arrive and everything to go well, thus making the girls have one more cousin. But Chili's sister wasn't the only big surprise at the wedding. As big a surprise as seeing Brandy finally pregnant was the resurgence of Grandpa Bob, whom many had already given up on. Certainly, Grandpa Bob has always been one of the biggest mysteries of the Bluey series, as we see him in the episode Granddad alongside Nana, and they dance for the girls. After that, the character simply disappeared, only returning in Bandit's flashbacks as he remembers the crazy 80s. We still had a small reference to Granddad in the episode The Dump, when we see Bingo saying a prayer for him for Granddad to be well wherever he is.
Good night, Grandpa Bob, wherever you are.
Granddad Bob's intriguing background story began to take on more real contours in the episode Ghost Basket, where we see cards from India on the Healer's refrigerator, which had never been there until that episode. That would actually be the prelude to the girls' reunion with the Healer patriarch, since he appears in The Sign to honor his eldest son's wedding. At the same time, we find out from Nana that Bob's trip to India was aimed at rediscovering himself, making us wonder what other stories and lessons Granddad learned during all those months he spent thousands of kilometers away from his loved ones. Who knows, maybe we'll find out more about this in the Bluey mini episodes. Another character who attended Radley and Frisky's wedding and has a very interesting background story is Maynard, a longtime friend of Granddad Mort. In fact, the first time we see him is exactly in the episode Granddad, where Chili's dad's good old friend fishes on his dock at the lake. And many people didn't notice, but Maynard seems to also work, or perhaps own, a convenience store at a gas station. He then makes a map of the region showing the longest and shortest routes, via the dirt road to Bluey's school for Jack's dad, and charges only a strawberry for it, which shows that Maynard knows the region well, and also shows that his house and the lake where he was fishing must be nearby, just like Granddad Mort's house, indicating that Chili, like Brandy, probably grew up in that area. Perhaps that's why Chili and Bandit chose that nature-surrounded school for Bluey to study. But the fact is that Maynard is also at the wedding, confirming what we just said, and as a friend of Chili's family, he must have known Frisky for many years, as the two are childhood friends, making the Bluey Granddad's Friends background story even cooler. And if you also enjoy these little details in Bluey, don't waste time and subscribe to the channel right now!
Please do it, Larry!
This was certainly one of the most well-connected and interesting background stories in Bluey. At the end of the season, we see Bandit almost selling the Healer family home because of a job offer he had long before. And when I say long before, it really means more than 40 episodes before. In Curry Quest, Bandit travels for a job probably in another country, which is not very common, and he returns after 6 weeks. And later, when the family goes on vacation, he spends a lot of time with distant thoughts while everyone else is having fun. And in the episode Stickbird, although the focus is on the sandbird that Bingo built and was accidentally destroyed by a group of boys, we can notice that the main background story is about Bandit and how he feels. At that moment, we don't know what he's going through, but when we see the sign, we discover that exactly in the episode he traveled, he participated in a major archaeological discovery which led him to receive a very good job offer financially. For this reason, the background story involving the professional life of Bluey and Bingo's dad is so important, as it would end up defining the entire future of the series and the little pups. Which thankfully didn't happen for our joy. Pretzel, despite having a German name, is a small Chihuahua puppy. The first time he appears in the series is during the episode Calypso in the first season, and we can perceive that unlike the other kids, he has a much more solitary profile, preferring to be alone most of the time and creating games just for himself. And we see that the puppy's behavior continues like this throughout the episode, but we're in doubt if he is always more introspective or just that day. And when we see him in other episodes, we confirm that this is indeed Pretzel's profile. Although he gets along with the other kids, we can see that he prefers to be alone most of the time, as we saw during the cricket episode. Or even at the very end of the Curry Quest episode, where everyone is doing something as a group, but the little Chihuahua is enjoying an ice cream alone amidst the fair, making it clear that the supporting character's profile in the series is more about playing alone. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Am I crying? No, I'm not crying.
What's definitely wrong is not having fun. And since we know you really enjoy having fun, we're leaving 2 very cool videos for you. Just click on your preference and keep having fun with us on our channel. Thanks, and see you next time.